Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Well, today is the day of the full solar eclipse. It will be happening in about 2 hours. The skies today are a mix of cloud and sun, so I'm hoping it clears up for the full solar eclipse. I'll try and video as much of it as I can. I've got 2 trees on the bench here. One is a trembling aspen or a poplar, and the other one, I'm not quite sure what it is. So this is a situation that I'm sure many people have been in. The repotting season is coming towards an end. Everything is starting to bud out now, even the trees that were kept cool in the polyhouse over the winter. And these trees, as you can see, have already leafed out, and they're in a small pot. They've never been root pruned, and they're in poor soil. So here's the question. I'd like to repot these trees, but am I too late? If I leave these trees to grow another season in this small pot, I'll keep them alive, but they'll grow not very well. The growth will be quite pathetic over the summer, and they won't really develop into a bonsai if I just leave them in this pot. So my options, do I repot them, or do I just let them grow miserably for another summer? I think I'm going to repot them today. I'm going to try and do minimal root pruning, get them into their own pots with good bonsai soil, and try and grow them over the summer, getting them, a start on becoming a bonsai. Here is a look at the 2 trees. I'm thinking this one could be a crabapple, or that's what I'm thinking it is. And the other one is the trembling aspen. So you can see, it's not in a very good pot. This one's right by the edge of the pot. The pot was full of weeds. Roots have grown out the bottom of the pot. So today I'm going to repot them, put them each in their own pot. I may do a little light root pruning, but I'll try and do as little as possible, just getting them growing healthy for the summer. I've done this out of season repotting before, and it's been successful. So I'll try it again with these 2 trees. I'm going to begin by pruning off the roots that are growing out the bottom of the pot, just so I can get the trees out. I'll loosen the pot up and pull the trees out. There we go. And I'll start combing out the root base. And I'll be bare rooting them, separating both trees. Lots of roots in the soil. So it is actually in good bonsai soil. I think these were, I'm trying to think where I got these from. They might have been volunteer seedlings. I think they were, that have just grown in this pot. It's possible Bruce maybe brought them over and gave them to me. I'm not sure. Here's my drainage screen on the bottom. Yeah, I just hated seeing these trees in this small pot, just existing, not thriving. Just pulling the 2 trees apart now, like that. So I'll take them over to my washing station and bare root them, and then I'll come back for the root pruning. Here is a look at both trees, bare rooted. So I'm going to do a little pruning on the top of the tree. You can see I have a branch here and a longer branch here. So I'm going to snip the top off the tree. I'll keep, both branches. I'll look for an outward facing bud. Prune the top off there. That lessens the load on the root system. It doesn't have to supply nutrients and water to so many leaves. And then with bonsai, I try and do as much work on the tree as I can with each repotting and each pruning. So I'm going to do some root pruning. I'm going to try and get this tree underway. So you can see these trees were growing, the edge of the pot was here, and all the roots grew towards the center of the pot. So it's not a very radial root system. So I'm going to prune these long roots back. even though it's, you know, a little late, the trees have leafed out, we'll still do some root pruning. Underneath you can see I have one thick root growing from the bottom. That's the tap root. I'm going to cut that. Removing that. There's one growing straight down here I can remove. Trim some of these bottom ones off. Now I'm looking at the upper root system. Here's a crossing root. I'll take that out. Snip the end off that one, which is going a funny direction. Trim some of these ones sticking up off. And I think that's about it. I mean, there's lots more sorting out to do, but you know, I don't want to go hog wild when the tree's already leafed out. So that one is ready for planting. The next one, you can see I have a few small shoots down low. I'm going to snip the one off. It looks like it's dead anyway. There's no leaves on it. And then I'm going to snip the tops back. And I think I'll go to here and here. Really reducing the load on the tree, taking the tops off. And now let's look at the roots. So there is a big root growing straight down here. This looks like the tap root. You can see it curls around like an S shape. So I'm going to take it off, leaving, you know, lots of fine roots still attached to it. To there. I'll trim these long ones back. The ones going straight down I'll prune back. There's one going towards the inside of the tree. And this S-shaped taproot, I've pruned it back. I'm wondering if I should go back further on the tree. I mean, that'll just keep thickening up. I don't think I could remove it, but I certainly could try. Let's do it. Let's come in here, cut on an angle, and remove that taproot. Like that. So I still have, you know, lots of roots. I'm just going to clean that cut up. That's not very good cleaning up. Let me try cleaning that cut up again. Some of these roots are a bit squishy. There. So the taproot's removed. It still has lots of roots. There's another one here that's not so good. Yeah, there. So the start of a radial root base. The roots are underway. That one's ready for planting also. There's a root up high here, but I'm going to leave that. I've got another high root here, so I think those could be maybe pruned away in the future as more of these lower roots develop. So the two trees are ready to get their first kind of individual pots. Outside, we're getting closer and closer to the full solar eclipse. The skies have cleared. Everything is looking good. I'm excited. I've got that original pot and a new one. They're very small, but I think they'll do for developing the root system for this year or maybe 2 years. So I'll get drainage screens in, a base layer of soil, and get the trees planted. My dusk mask is on. So I'm going to put this tree in this pot. So I'll add a base layer of soil. A little more. Plant the tree, and I'll sort those roots out. That's looking good. And then I'll fill in the tree. Or surround the tree with soil. So I think these trees have a good chance of living. The roots weren't all that active. They still have lots of roots. Thank goodness they were growing in bonsai soil. And I think I've, you know, reduced the tops. Okay, that one's ready for watering. The next one, my base layer of soil goes in, and I'll get this tree planted. Now it's got room to grow roots on that side. That'll give these trees a good start as a bonsai, rather than just random seedlings growing in a crowded pot. It feels good to give them a good start. Okay, the two trees are ready to be watered. Here I go with the water. Give them a good thorough soaking. And I'll keep them protected here in the greenhouse until they recover, and then they can go outside on the bench once the weather looks good. I'll try and keep them above freezing, keep them out of strong winds and out of the strong sunlight. So kind of a shaded spot on the bench is perfect. Okay, that is it. The little poplar's ready to grow, and so is this tree, whatever it is. I think it's a crabapple. Here is a look at the two newly repotted trees. So I'll keep you updated on their progress to see how they do over the summer. Here they are on the bench now, so they should do quite well in the greenhouse. I don't think there'll be any problems with them. I think they'll survive just fine. The next tree I'll be repotting today is a spruce that I got from Bruce. So this will be Bruce's spruce. It was collected and put in this pot, so it's in the original field soil. It has the original grass and weeds growing in the soil. And last summer it didn't grow that well. It didn't like being freshly collected and just put in a pot. So today I'm going to be bare rooting it, root pruning it, and putting it into bonsai soil. I'll get the tree out of the pot. There. And I think this one I'm going to work on in the water. So I'll take it over to my washing station and try and clean off all the soil around the root system, getting rid of all these weeds. It looks like, you know, the roots have grown quite well in the pot. So let's go to the washing station now. Okay, into the water it goes. I still have all these thuja seedlings here that I've got to pot up soon. They're just soaking in the water. That won't hurt them at all. And I'll start loosening up this root base here. There's a lot of weeds in here and grass. There's a few other trees that were growing in here. I don't know what they are. I don't think they're alive. I didn't see them growing last year. So we'll just throw those away. There was another tree here beside it that didn't make it. I was so busy with the repotting that I noticed the eclipse has started. Where's the sun? Right there, you can see the moon moving across the sun there. So there is a look at the sun. The moon is moving in front of it. I've set the camera on manual exposure, so right now you can see it's a beautiful sunny day. And I hope, you know, as the moon moves across the sun there, that it'll get darker and darker. And they say you might be able to see the stars, so that'll be quite something to see in the middle of the afternoon. Here is a look at the eclipse now. You can see it's getting closer to halfway. Here's a shot of outside now, and I'm noticing it's getting darker. It's gone from a beautiful sunny day to, it looks like it's kind of getting overcast. So the eclipse is definitely coming into full swing. Here's a shot in the greenhouse here. You can see it's getting darker in here. Oh, this is bizarre. It's just bizarre. 3 o'clock in the afternoon and it's starting to get dark out. Everything in the city is suddenly very quiet out here. I don't know if everyone's stopping their daily routines and looking at the eclipse, but there's no traffic noise, there's no wind noise. It's just gone very, very quiet. This feels like a scene from 2001: A Space Odyssey. I've got my spruce soaking in the pot of water here, so the roots will be nice and happy. Here is a look at the outside lighting now. It's still very quiet in the city. I think everyone is now watching the eclipse. I wonder what the chickens will do, if they'll go inside thinking it's nighttime. That'll be interesting. We'll have a look at them later on. For the trees in the greenhouse here, it's their first solar eclipse. Nighttime is settling in on the bonsai zone. The crescent is getting very thin now. The birds are chirping like it's the evening. Hi guys. It's going to get dark soon. Did you know that? You guys will have to go in for the night. Yeah. Here's a look at how dark it's getting out now. My Austrian pine has the solar eclipse glasses on. Good work, Austrian pine. The sun is just a small sliver in the sky now. Here's what it looks like outside. It's getting darker and darker. If I switch to auto exposure, it still looks like a sunny day out here. But if I go to manual, it's getting darker and darker out. Let's see what the sun's doing. It's still up there in the sky. There's a shot of the sun now. I don't know if I'll be able to see any stars out here, but the sky is getting darker. It's just a little sliver in the sky. Very, very cool. Here's a shot of the sky. There's the sun up there. We are almost at a full solar eclipse now. Here is a shot of the sun in the sky without the solar eclipse glasses on. The backyard on manual exposure is pretty well black now. You can see a little bit of the greenhouse there. There's the sun in the sky. The sun is just the thinnest sliver now. Everything else is dark out here. I'm not in the area of the total full solar eclipse. I think it's 99% here, so I'm not sure if it'll get, black outside. So that was as full a solar eclipse as I got here. It's starting to get brighter out now. I can notice it. The sun's starting to get a little more in view. If I switch to manual, you can see it's getting brighter out now. The sunshine is returning. The chickens stayed outside for the solar eclipse. I guess it didn't get quite dark enough for them. They like to stay outside until it gets almost pitch black. We are almost out of the eclipse now. Be back to full sunshine soon. The solar eclipse is all over now. It's back to full sunshine. Back to work on my spruce tree. So here is the root base. So I've got some surface roots up here, and then I've got one kind of thick taproot going down. It's been severed when it was collected, and it's got quite a root system on it. So I have to decide, well, if I cut that root off, I'll lose a lot of fine roots, and it might put the tree at risk. You can see this root was cut off here, and it's growing a new root here. So I can clean that cut up at least. Like that. Maybe clean it up a little better so it blends in a bit better. There's a couple of roots up high here. I'll take those off. That at least gets my root base down a bit. Yeah, it's not the best situation. I will take this one root off the bottom, helping to flatten out the root base. I'll trim these long roots back. They're not active yet, making it a little more compact. Prune off some of these roots sticking up. And do I plant the tree there, or do I take a risk and sever off that taproot? That's the question. Because I don't have any roots much on this side, you can see there's a few fine roots maybe growing here. Yeah, there's a few. I am going to sever it. Otherwise, you know, this root system will just get thicker and I'll end up with no roots on this side of the root base. So here I go, severing that taproot like that. So it leaves me with a fairly meager root system, but it's one that, you know, has the start of a radial root base. And I think that is it. I'm going to plant the tree now and see how it does. I could prune some of the top of the tree off just to ease the load on the roots. So I think a good place would be right here. So here I go, taking that tip off. And then, you know, in the future, if it starts to grow nice and healthy, I can reduce it back further. But for now, I think that's good. So I'll get the tree planted now. I'm going to plant the tree in this large pond basket. I think it'll be a good home for it for, you know, 2 or 3 years. It'll develop a good root system in here. It should grow nice and strong. And I don't have to worry about repotting it for quite a while. The roots will fill this pot eventually, and I can work on the top of the tree in the meantime. So I'm going to use used soil. I've got lots of good used soil that I can use for these trees that may make it or they may not. So I will get my scoop and get the tree planted. Okay, in goes the soil. The roots are arranged. I'll plant it nice and deep. And this soil has all kinds of pine bark in it. It's got good ingredients. It's nice and loose and crumbly. Now I think I can remove my pruners here. I think the tree will stay up by itself. Yeah, I think this tree will do really well in here. It certainly won't dry out. I think that's good. I don't want to plant the tree too deeply, otherwise I'll get roots growing off the trunk instead of where I want them, in the soil, or down by that radial root base. Okay, so that tree is ready for watering. All right, here I go with the water. I think there's a good chance this tree will survive. It had enough of a root system. It wasn't active yet. I think you'll see it do really well. Spruce are pretty tough trees.
Today, I gave 3 trees a chance at becoming a really good bonsai in the future. It feels good kind of taking neglected trees and giving them some love and care to develop them into the future. So that is all for my solar eclipse repotting video. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.